Hello, Facebook. Okay, and everyone else in our beautiful group here. I'm Mia Fines. This is Lori Montre. Welcome to Talk Tuesday, and we're really excited to have you here. We're going to be talking about where the feeling of safety actually comes from. But I also want to share a quote before we start because I think it's pretty perfect. It's by Anais Nin. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. So think about that as we're talking about safety. Okay, away we go.
Yeah, that is such a powerful quote because it reminds us that our experience of life is really based on, the pair of glasses that we wear, essentially. And we're never, we're not seeing truth, quote unquote truth, right? We're seeing everything through our own perceptions, through the lens of, safety or lack of safety, security, or the lack of security. And situations are so vastly different depending on what pair of glasses we have on. And so it is a perfect quote for us as we enter this topic, because if we want to live our most beautiful, joyful, abundant lives, we need to be seeing life through a lens of safety. Right? Through a lens of, that's where our beautiful creativity lies. That's where we're able to act from our own truth, our own authenticity, and our own, essence of who we are, as opposed to, how do I gain safety? How do I control the situation so that I'll be okay, etc. So I guess, this is a topic that we're either asked about a lot, or we identify as we're working with people. It really becomes clear that most people in some way are dealing with some kind of insecurities and lack of safety, whether that's in every part of their life, or maybe just, it could be mostly in their relationships, or mostly in their financial situation, or some other situation. So as we start this topic, I think it'd be useful for each of us to kind of think about, what is the area or areas in our lives that we do tend to feel a lack of security, like we aren't sure that we're going to be okay. We're afraid our partner is going to leave us, going to find somebody that they like better, that they're going to die, that they're not going to be there for us, that we're going to, or if we don't have a partner, that we'll never find one. In our jobs, if we're afraid that, we're stuck in a job that we really don't like, but we're afraid that we won't be able to find something else, that we won't make it doing something that we really love, that what we really love is not something that's valued enough. And so we can't take that step. So, and there's just, we could go on for the whole hour talking about the ways that insecurity and lack of safety show up, right? And it produces a lot of anxiety for people.
So before we begin with what it actually is and how to get there, I would like everybody to think about for a moment, what does safety feel like first for you? First, you're little, and then as you're older, what made you feel comfortable and safe? Oftentimes it was snuggling in the laps of our parents or something like that. So about that, as you're doing either taking this in again or quickly, and jot that down, what that would be like for you to be safe. Your safest moment. Mine is actually snuggling in my dad's lap. I used to, do that to get out of chores and stuff. So think about that. And now, remember, you've grown up, life is different, like Lori was talking about, and now we're going to start into what it actually is and how to maintain it. But you've got to first feel what it's truly like to feel safe in that inner child space. And then, as Lori said, how do you feel safe as an adult, financially secure? Or, those things are slightly different than when we're little, but they're all deeply connected and deeply rooted together.
Yeah. And if you're somebody, and I work with a lot of people who would tell me, I don't have that. I don't ever really remember having that deep-seated feeling of safety in my body or otherwise. And that is very common. So if that is you, know that can still be built. We have so much power to redo and to recreate everything that we might have been missing out on. Safety comes when we're little kids from having that attuned, attached caregiver, someone who is responding to our needs, understands what it is that we need, and then consistently and effectively meets those needs. That's how we learn what safety is in the first place. And for many of us, it was either not available for whatever reason. Could have been that just our caregiver wasn't attuned and was trying things that didn't actually make us feel safe and meet our needs. It could be that they were absent, that they were dealing with their own issues and struggles and weren't able to be there. So without placing blame or judgment, if you're somebody who doesn't really have that sense of safety for themselves, that was my case. I worked so hard to create a sense of safety, not even knowing what it would actually feel like. So it is great if you can tap into that and you have that sense of a time when you truly felt safe. But if that's not your experience, just know that that's okay. And we can build that together. That's not something that can't come at any stage in life, whether you're, 12 or 112, your brain is still able to do that.
And also the sense of safety, like that I brought up. As Lori's talking, I'm digging and thinking. And truly, one moment of feeling safe is not a lifetime of safety, right? It's just a remembrance. Most of us have gone forward, even if we've had one or two moments where we feel safe, most of us have lived, like she said, without feeling safe. So it's everybody can get there, whether you haven't felt safe before or whether you've lost it. It's because it's something that comes from within you. And
yes.
Why you can develop it. It's yours already inherently. So reach for it, pull it out.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect place to start. And that is when we can start to define, where does it come from? And then we can talk about how to generate it, right? And like Mia said, it is yours. The sense of safety is yours, and it's something that you have access to all the time. Once you learn the tools and the strategies and start to work with the practices that will bring it to you. But first, we have to be willing to look at the ways that we're searching for safety outside of ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment around it. We all do it. We learn to do it as children because we're not capable of taking care of ourselves or providing ourselves with that sense of safety. We're not supposed to be, right? So the best scenario is when we get our needs met, feel safe in the world, and then learn how to do it for ourselves, learn what it means to self-regulate, to bring that to ourselves, to show up for ourselves and all the things. But either, that can get short-circuited or just not be available, or even if it was, things can happen later in life that feel really overwhelming and take us out of that sense of safety, like Mia was saying before. So like we were talking about, the first step is really understanding, where do I look for my safety in the world? A lot of people look to their relationship, to their partner, to make them feel safe. And so what that means is that you're essentially handing over your well-being to another person. And when we do that, you can imagine that is going to be one bumpy ride, because no matter who they are and how fabulous they are, they're not going to be able to soothe all of the ways that your mind will work, the triggers and all of the ways that you might be struggling to feel safe and secure. They're just never going to be able to do that. So we go through life thinking, well, if this person, if I can get this person to love me or to value me, to respect me, to honor me, to adore me, to whatever it is, then I'll feel safe. And what that looks like is you kind of stepping out of your truth and authenticity in order to control somebody else's behavior. And it might work this much of the time. So here you are in a situation where, you're denying yourself, right? Which is the ultimate sense of a lack of safety. Because if you're not there for yourself, that's a really scary place to be, right? So we step out of ourselves, out of alignment, and we act in these ways in order to try to get something from a person in a partnership, validation and all the things that I talked about before. And they can only meet it, even the best case scenario, they can only meet it some part of the time. And so that is one way that we give our safety, give responsibility for our safety away. So asking yourself, do you do that? It could be friendships, it could be, your significant other, it could be your parent, it could be any type of relationship. But are you putting your sense of safety in whether or not the relationship is going well, whether they called you X many times, whether they're doing this or that, right? And you can kind of see how that's a pretty precarious situation to be in. And it's also unstable, and it doesn't feel secure, even when it's feeling great. The security is you're not sure how long it's going to last, or you're afraid of, how do I need to act right now so that I can continue getting this? Mia, what are some of the other ways, the places where we put our safety?
We put our safety, well, anything outside of ourselves is the wrong place.
Yeah.
It can be put into even a little statue, literally.
Mm.
People put it in their Buddha statues or whatever, when really this shows us that we're not focusing on the right thing. Where true safety comes is from within you, from that sense of balance, from that sense of comfort, from that sense of nourishing, reparenting, loving, listening to self, examining self, observing. I mean, there's so many ways that we aren't, and some people are, working this safety space. It's about understanding what makes you fearful.
Yeah, there. Yeah.
Those fears,
Yeah.
right? Whether you mention finances, or whether it's lack of relationship or being alone. There are people who get very freaked out by being alone, right? And so whatever that space is that you feel you're missing, you need to look and examine that, because the number one space that fear comes in, it comes along with the essence that we're going to die. Since cavemen days, which is like 35,000 years ago, we have been in this fight or flight space. Are we going to be destroyed? But as we've become a stronger human being and more evolved, the space of fight or flight, or being taken away by some giant bird, or coming outside your cave and being eaten by a grizzly bear or something, those aren't going to happen. Why? Because our whole structure of who we are is different than it was 35,000 years ago. So you have to look at it. You have to look at this, that the first framework of fear comes from that. And so it doesn't even exist in today's world. So we have to sort of look at it backwards. Fear, if you put it out here, what's making you fearful? Say it's a lack of money or losing your job or something. You have to identify, is it going to kill me if I step outside my house? No. Okay, well, that's gone. Then you keep bringing it back. Is it going to make me starve to death? Not necessarily so if I take action. Am I going to be homeless? Probably not if I continue to take action. So if you talk yourself back, you can look at the framework that it's not as frightening as you thought. And so we do this with everything. There are other ways and methods, but one of the most solid ways to look at our fear is to bring it back to center and take it from the fear space of death, because that's where it comes from. And you will find that what you're looking at has nothing to do with death at all. You realize, oh, I am safe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so we're looking, like we were talking about, it can be, we can be putting our sense of safety or looking to so many life circumstances. If I can't feel safe, if I don't have a certain job, I don't have a certain amount in my bank account, I don't have this kind of relationship, I don't have, I was in a fight with my daughter, let's say, that now I'm not safe, right? I got a bill that I wasn't planning. Now I'm not safe, right? Whatever it is. And I'm curious if anybody wants to write in the chat and share, what area or what fears, where do you feel unsafe? And then we can, always, try to address our comments from that place that will really help you see how this is showing up in your life. Because that is, obviously what we're here for. We want to help you see how this information applies in your everyday life and how it can improve your everyday life. So let's switch now to kind of like Mio's started us down this path of, okay, now what do I do? So the first step we said is recognizing, where am I trying to get my safety from? People, jobs, money, blah, 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 all the things, right? So really identifying that for yourself. And then getting inside there and being willing to question that and say, actually, I feel that way, right? I feel like I need this in order to be safe, but I'm open to the idea that I don't, that I can create safety from within, as opposed to needing or handing it over to someone or something outside of me. I can bring it back and create it for myself. And that's really a process and a practice. Everything we teach is such a practice. And I always say this, so you'll get tired of hearing me. But when we're working with these practices, a lot of people, when they're working on their own, they'll give up very quickly. And they'll say, I tried it and it didn't work. And we'll say, okay, well, how many times did you try it? I tried it for a week. Or I tried it twice and I didn't feel anything. And so that means that it's not going to work for me long term. And it's just so important. That's one of the places where we get really stuck, is that we think that if we don't have, big results right away with a practice or something like that, that it's not going to work for us. And really, we always have to remember what we're reprogramming, right? We're laying down new neural pathways to replace old ones. And that takes some time and effort and some consistency. It doesn't have to be a long time, right? The things that we teach are based on the latest research in neuroscience that help us really understand how to be most effective, how to use our emotions, how to use our brilliant brains, how to use our bodies to get involved in this process so that it can happen very quickly. But it is a practice, and it's something that we have to go into with gentle expectations, with compassion for the part of us that doesn't want to let go of that old story about where does safety come from, because it is truly scary place to be. If I have put, let's just say, for example, because we hear this a lot, if I put my sense of safety in my partner, say, or, just fill in the blank for whatever it is for you. But if I put my sense of safety in my partner, and I've been working and my whole life has been about, okay, who do I need to be so that I can get the best reaction from them, so that I can feel the most love, because that's how I feel safe. And that's been my way of creating safety for myself. If I just pull that away and say, nope, you're going to get safety from somewhere else. Right. At first, it feels like you've just taken away my life preserver. And now I'm out in the ocean, with nothing, because I haven't built the next thing. I haven't learned how to swim on my own yet. Right. So it can be a challenging process to let go of. Right. I see how it's not serving me. I see how it's not true. I see how it's creating more insecurity for me and hurting my relationship. But it's still hard to let go of it, because it's what you know, and you don't know what's over here. You haven't built this yet. So it's hard to cling on to something new, even though that's the thing that's ultimately going to be your true sense of, your rock solid sense of safety. It's going to be that, but it's not that today. So it's hard to let go of that. So just kind of recognize, while you're in the process of establishing safety from within, it can be hard and feel even more scary, right, as you approach this. But when you know this is what it looks like, and yes, it's okay to feel that sense of, oh man, this is even more heightened sense of lack of safety as I transition from the life preserver to learning how to swim, right? Because learning how to swim That's the ultimate in safety, right? You can be anywhere doing anything. And if you fall in the water, you got it. You don't need to have your life preserver there for you. So you can see how, what a beautiful goal that is. What an awesome way to be. That's freedom. That's navigating your life in the world in a way that nothing knocks you off. You can not like certain things. You can feel sad. You can have some grief. You can have all of those things, but you're still rock solid in safety. And that's a really beautiful, free place to be.
You know, I was just feeling as you were talking, how many people actually talk to themselves. I remember growing up and hearing, oh yeah, your aunt, blah, 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 just talks to herself all the time. She's crazy, right? So
I'm really crazy then.
Yeah. So we're already putting judgment on that whole scenario. But in truth, one of the ways to move through this stuff super fast is communication with self. And so as you are communicating, instead of processing of just allowing it to happen and seeing the fear, you have to communicate with yourself, whether you write it out, journal, whether you think it up here in a whole complete conversation, or whether you actually talk out loud to yourself. Sometimes you might answer and giggle. But the thing is that as you create and look at it, right, when I'm saying communicate with yourself, you're looking through everything, you're processing through and saying, oh, I can follow this. I see where this is a part of me.
Yeah.
As we move through this, we're working through building our new patterns faster and more succinct. And that's where we want to be. So be aware that you are a participant in your experience, literally. Your perception, your observation. This is really important on moving forward.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. And so, you know, everything that we've kind of talked about up until now is kind of the foundation that, you know, understanding what this issue or this challenge is all about. And now we can really put some mythology, like the things that Mia's talking about. We can really put a process in place, right? Because so often we hear these things and we're like, yeah, I want that. I want to stop thinking this way. And I want, but then we're like, I don't know how to do it. I don't actually know what to do, right? So we're always about giving you the actual practices that are going to take you from where you are to where you want to be. And so this is a process, and there's many ways, and we actually teach a lot of different ways to go about this in our Greatest You Academy. But obviously, right, we want to give you something today that you can actually take and start working. And I'll mention now, and I'll mention again later, if you're here and showing up and you are taking notes and really trying to implement these processes and these tools and strategies that we give you, and you run into a speed bump, we want to hear from you. There'd be nothing that would hurt our hearts more than you struggling with something, trying to get, putting in that effort, trying to get something out of it and not being able to. So please reach out if you're somebody who is working these things and you run into blocks or don't know how to take it forward. We want to show up and help you with that. You can always, the Greatest You Facebook group is always there, and we're always making sure that we're checking for people who need extra support or have questions about the things that we teach on. And you can reach us by email as well. So with that in mind, here's the process that we want to offer you. The first one is to understand what's actually happening, what you're actually feeling, noticing, like we were talking about earlier when Mia was saying, what are you fearful of? What gets your anxiety going? Because the anxiety is the lack of safety, right? So what is it for you, right? Is it I just had an interaction with my partner or with my boss or whatever. I'm just feeling overwhelmed. I'm driving. I'm thinking about the hundreds of things that I have to do today, and realize that I'm only going to get to 5. What's going to happen with the other ones? So my sense of safety there is in checking everything off my list and getting everything done. So really understanding and looking at what's happening for you. We can't change something if we're not seeing it. So going into light, having awareness, being really on the lookout for the ways that I don't feel safe. People will, if my partner leaves me, then I won't be safe. If my partner doesn't call me, or if we don't go out tonight, right? And it sounds a little bit like, that's not me, that sounds great. But think about those situations, right? That part of you may be there, and it may be a small voice. It may be kind of more on a subconscious level, but really opening up and starting to notice the times and the situations where you don't feel safe. And then the second step would be to invite your loving adult, the wise, beautiful, resourceful, higher self that you have access to, right? Inviting inviting him in to really step in and feel this, and to recognize and to say, I see that you're feeling unsafe and that this is going on, right? Just being really aware and being willing to experience the feeling that you're feeling, to experience the lack of safety, to experience the loneliness, to experience the anxiety about what could happen, to experience the heartache, to experience the overwhelm, to experience whatever it is that's there. Because we spend so much time and energy trying to get out of these uncomfortable feelings. Now, notice that I said uncomfortable, not bad, because none of our feelings are bad. None of our experiences in and of themselves are bad. It just can be uncomfortable. So when we are experiencing something uncomfortable and have that sense of the lack of safety, and if we refuse to feel whatever it is, then we're going to go straight into action. How do I fix this? Maybe I'll withdraw from my partner so that they give me more attention. Maybe I'll get mad and throw a little fit. Maybe I will, whatever. I'll act in a way, or maybe I'll people please. I'll shut down my own needs and just say, hey, what do you need? Let me do more for you so that I can get what I need. So I can try to get that from you. And that would apply in all situations. I'm using the partner thing because a lot of people can relate to that. So notice how quickly we try to get out of that uncomfortable feeling by acting in ways that are not actually helpful, that are not in alignment with who we are. And then we end up feeling more miserable instead of, right, getting that sense of safety and that sense of, being in your authenticity, in your power. You end up feeling more unsafe because you've ignored yourself and you've left yourself. And then I would say that the third step would be to really tap into guidance. Now, what is guidance? And Mia, I know you'll have some beautiful insight on this, but guidance is like our connection with divinity, whatever divinity looks like for you. And that source, whatever it is that crafted you and breathed life into you, right? You have that within you, right? All the time. And it's there as your guidance system. It's there to help steer you and to tell you truth. So if you can, get in a quiet space, really let go of the resistance, have your loving adult there to help you and to feel and be in this experience with you, then you can tap into guidance, and guidance will really just be there with that love and support and that grace that will show you the truth in this situation. And it's also going to, when you're in that frame of mind, you're going to be connected to your prefrontal cortex, because the lack of safety and shutdown and overwhelm and all of that has you living from survival. It has you living from taking action from your brainstem, from your limbic system. And that system is only concerned with, how do I survive this moment? It's not really concerned about how do I navigate this moment in a way that really serves my whole life and who I want to be. It's like, we've got this threat right in front of us. How do I react instead of how do I live and create something? And so we want that prefrontal cortex on board. We want to access to our greatest selves, right? And so calling in the loving adult, having the presence and asking guidance, divinity to help us and to be there with us is going to give us access to all of our good ideas, and it's going to help us know how to support ourselves. So what do I need in this moment, right? I'm going to be able to hear it, and I'm going to be able to take the action. That might be get out in nature. That may be what is loving and supportive to you. It may be to find someone who is a source of love. Like if I am ever in a place where my guidance is saying, reach out to those who love and support you, I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to call Mia, and I'm going to lean on that. So sometimes that's where guidance leaves me as the most supporting, loving action that I can take for myself. It might be to listen to something that helps put your mind in the right place, right? It may be movement of some kind. It may be body support, somatic work, which we teach in the academy. It might be yoga, martial arts, dance. It might be massage. It can be a beautiful meal. It could be something that nourishes your body in that way. It can just be that you need quiet or some other type of experience. And so when you take a situation like a triggered moment and you look at this, I'm feeling unsafe. Where am I trying to get safety from? Oh, I see. I'm trying to get it from here, but it really comes from within. I'm going to have to feel these feelings that come from this experience. And then I can tap into guidance and get the support and get the direction as to what am I actually needing? How do I actually hear myself, listen to myself, and take the loving action? And there's so much on this topic, and it's just, there's so much about, well, how do I listen to myself? Well, how do I, do all of these steps? And so today serves as kind of a big picture, 10,000 foot overview of some of the issues. Mia and I we're very excited to be putting together a challenge that starts on January 10th. And it's a Tuesday. So you'll be joining us when it starts, and it'll run for 7 days. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into all of the elements that we're discussing today to help you become firmly rooted, to help you really understand what this looks like. It doesn't mean you have to wait till January 10th to get started, because the things that we're giving you today will just open you up, and it will bring a lot of awareness so that when you come to the challenge, you'll be prepped, right? You'll be able to get more out of the challenge because you're taking these steps and thinking about this from now. So Mia, this is, one mythology, although we teach many, of how to tap into that sense of inner strength and providing the safety. What are your thoughts on, tapping into guidance in particular?
I really, it's so important. And I love how you talk about the higher system within ourself and also the adult self. So when she's talking about tapping into the adult, she's talking about the adult self, not some stranger. So that's you.
Yes.
So how powerful is it that you already have this ability? It may not be fully formed yet in you, but you have this incredible ability to shift and change everything about you. Yeah. So what that means is when you're within yourself, as you begin to do this work, as you expand out even further, you're supporting yourself. This incredible, remember, a little bit before that, I said, how many of you actually talk to yourself? Mm-hmm. I just asked that because I heard to ask that. And the reason is it's bringing it into here too. We have to be communicative with ourself, our adult self, and our higher self, because that's where the absorption happens within us. We could sit there for years, and people have, just quietly waiting for an answer. Yes, that does not work as much as like what we're talking about, having our adult self communicate with our higher self. And that means you must respond to yourself. You must be proactive in your way of being, in your growth, in your looking for moving forward in whatever that is, right? Whether that's tapping into our guidance system, being calm, nurturing, whether it's growing your self-love, whether it's growing your voice, whatever the powerful thing is, you have the ability to do it through tapping in like this on every single level.
Yeah, yeah. And this is a foreign experience for a lot of people. Since they have not felt, right? Like, so we have at our disposal, right? Sometimes I'll ask people, what would make you feel safe? And they'll, in different ways and in different forms, they'd say, if I had somebody beside me every single second of every single day, and that person understood me, that person was in my corner, that person pointed out, not let me get away with stuff like, always just giving me lip service, like actually had all my best interests at heart, and was able to, give me beautiful guidance and advice, and was just always there for me, never left my side, then I would feel safe. Right? And we'll say, guess what? You have that person always access 24 hours a day, no matter what. And that person is your loving adult. And so it's about cultivating that relationship and about figuring out how do I access it? It's here. It's kind of like it's always broadcasting, right? But sometimes we're not tuned to the right station. So it's about how do we tune so that we can have that constant access to this beautiful version of ourselves that can provide us safety, can actually provide us safety all the time. And it's such a beautiful gift that we have this. And so it's a practice to learn how to do that. And one of the ways is just that communication that Mia's talking about, listening to yourself and not shutting it down because of fears, stories, old stories, right? So in a situation, just to give you an example, let's say, you're trying to get safety from a partner, and your loving adult or your truth says, I really don't want to have to, let's say, I'm really tired and I don't want to have to, make dinner tonight and do all of these things. But if I don't, then they might not love me. It might not be, pleasing to them. And so I have to shut my voice down, to shut down what my needs are in order to try to get my needs met over here. And when we look at it this way, and in the context of this conversation, we can see like, oh, wait, I'm gonna shut down my own voice and my own ability to support myself so that I can try to get it somewhere else. Right? Why don't I just go to the source and say, what do you need? And then, honor that and provide that. Isn't that much more of a sense of safety than trying to get it through a way that denies ourselves?
Initially, in the way we were raised and brought up, initially, we would never even consider this, right?
Yeah.
This is more, for thousands of years, it's been just move, 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 be quiet. You don't have anything to say, go over there. So we're not trained to listen to the magnificence of who we are.
Yeah.
So this is such a beautiful place to step into. If it's the first time hearing it, it's a little weird. And then also to build a relationship with yourself, who do you think you are? You're crazy.
Yeah.
The things I know, because I used to talk that way years ago when I first started self-love. It scared the bejesus out of me when I heard myself talk back to myself. Not in a mean way. When I first did the mirror work and I said, I love you. And I started crying and said, no, I don't. So we have this ability to communicate with ourselves, and in the loving open spaces of this is how we shift super fast. That communication, that trusting that you have that ability within yourself to do this work and to build a relationship with yourself that you can trust, you can feel safe. And the most important thing about any and all of interpersonal work. We'll call it what it is. It's interpersonal development work. And the most important thing is to build that strong relationship, because without that, none of your relationships are as good as you think they are. We promise you that. And anyone who's done this work and has had these shifts will also agree, hands down, that understanding and communication with self in a loving way is the most powerful space to move into the next.
Absolutely. Yes. I was on the phone this morning actually with someone who was describing, she was at a situation, a holiday party for her work, where it was just not her thing, where she just felt like the energy it was just really draining for her. And before we were working together, in the not so recent past, she would have said, well, I have to be here and I have to, because it has to look a certain way. And, all of the cultural norms and all of the civic self, which we teach in the academy, coming in to direct her experience and to keep her there. And because she's been working that communication and being able to show up with herself, she realized this is not for me. So I can honor myself in my own needs. And rather than staying here, letting it drain my energy so that I'm, in a bad place for days, which is what used to happen for her, she was able to simply, remove herself from the situation, take some time with herself to do the things that were renewing. So listen to herself, take the loving action. And it was over. Something that would have taken her out literally for days in the past. She was able to navigate, and then she has such a more of a sense of safety because she knows she's not going to put herself in situations where she's ignoring her needs and allowing her energy to be, completely drained. And so it builds, and it builds big when you start to listen, and then your inner self starts to trust. I don't have to be all nervous. I don't have to have that lack of safety because I know she's listening and she's got me, right? The loving adult has me. She hears me. She's, we have that relationship, and it starts just like you said, we have to build that relationship of open communication and allowing, rather than saying, oh no, I can't think that, I can't feel that, because that's not what good girls do. Somebody might talk about me tomorrow at the water cooler or whatever. It's about letting go of all that so you can actually hear and take action from a place that is loving to yourself. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And in the challenge, we're going to talk about a lot of the blocks that keep us from being able to do this, because it's one thing to hear it and another thing to actually be able to embody it.
Yeah. So everybody, what we have coming up for you is this amazing challenge coming in early January. The signups will start to come out at the end of the month.
Yeah.
We will be taking off next week, except for the academy. We will be keeping our academy call, but we're here the following week after that, the beginning of January. So reach out on the Facebook page or on the email that you get this replay in, and write us if you have things that you need or want to talk about. We do have calendar spaces open if you're interested in joining the academy or getting support. The academy is only $97 a month. You get coaching in there, and you also have a program called The Greatest You, which has 12 modules that will shift and change your life. This is a no contract academy, so you can come and go as you please. So we want to just fill you up with that. We love that you guys chose you first to shift change. And we're so grateful that you're here with us in the academy and in our Facebook group. So.
Absolutely. Yes. So we want to, we're going to keep talking about this topic and supporting people. So, when you dig in there a little bit and start trying on some of this, when you get to the point where you have a question or a roadblock, we want to hear from you. And especially doing this work ahead of time, like I said before, this is going to prepare you so that you get so much out of the challenge, and we're going to be available for coaching and lots of real beautiful support for you as you implement these principles in the challenge. And then, definitely, like Mia was saying, our academy is a place where you can essentially, it's obtaining a master's degree in yourself, right? Learning about your authentic self, learning how to listen, learning what the old beliefs are and the stories that keep you from being able to really access and own and live in your authentic self, which is your greatest self. So there's just so much there, and we'd love to share more with you about that. So if you have interest, let us know. We've really figured out a way to offer this so that it's accessible to almost everyone. And that's what we want, because our mission is to change the world, to help people gain that access to their greatest selves and then go out into the world. Imagine, right, if we were all connected to our greatest self and out there contributing to the world in whatever way is just an expression of our true self and our gifts. So this is important work, and we, like Mia said, we really appreciate you showing up, because regardless of how you're showing up, whether it's just to these free teachings or in the Facebook group or in the academy, you're letting us do what we were put here to do, which is teach and support in these important ways. So we appreciate you. We won't be together before holidays. Right. So happy
in January,
holidays.
We'll be back in a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So happy holidays to all of you. We hope they're beautiful. If you want to go to our YouTube channel, we have some teachings on navigating the holidays. So you may be, if you're feeling, the slightest bit frazzled, or maybe you're feeling like I want to make this a really, my best holiday season where I feel really connected and I'm authentic and I'm expressing myself.
Well, you know what, since you're saying that, I'm going to give you guys the URL to the Academy website, because you can get started immediately to join. So that's www.thegreatestyouacademy.com, and read it, check it out. Or two.
Yeah. And just you can always just kind of be thinking about it, seeing what it's all about, participate in the challenge, and then that's going to give you a sense of what it would be like to work with us and to be overcoming the blocks that we often see when people are trying to up level and create big, beautiful lives.
Thank you everyone so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.